fact, it's been said by many of the teachers, you know, that everything we do in order to try and objectify and get a thing called enlightenment or to get ourselves actually moves us away from ourselves by the very act of just objectifying the object of, you know, that we're searching, you know, turning it into an object so we can search for it. Meyer Baba basically said, just don't worry, be happy. But I do think that that an inquiry is in order, but I think it can be very gentle. That we don't have to beat ourselves up and judge ourselves. If we can just discover the willingness that's here for the truth to be the truth. Period. Right here, right now, this timeless moment, you are whole and complete. Nothing can be added to you, nothing can be taken from you. You're totally unassailable. As far as ego is concerned and the tyranny of the mind, I think that when you shine the light of awareness within, there may be I can't even pronounce the word. There may be leftover stuff that will come up to be processed, but you'll find that there's not nearly as much energy on it as it is without the knowledge that visits itself upon you, that you simply are that which you cannot not be. It's very simple, really. So with that declaration, I'll open it up to questions. And I think you have the microphone.
Yep.
Okay. Questions, comments? I think I always add harassment, you know, heckling, you know, whatever.
I read on your website that you have cancer, and you know, don't know how much longer you will be here.
Yeah.
And
the body has cancer.
Well, your body.
Yeah, the body has cancer.
Yes, that's a good point. I'd like to ask you if you could share your thoughts about self-inquiry and death and, you know, afterlife. Yeah.
When I first became privy to self-inquiry, it was actually in 1997, shortly after having had a stroke. I like to say that this body's been a great entertainment center, you know, with strokes and cancer and, you know, all kinds of fun things to play with. I was, at that time, I was clear down on my right side and was drooling a little bit and kind of dragging a leg, and at the beginning I couldn't even pick up a pen. Luckily it wasn't really a horribly serious stroke, and at the end of 6 months I'd regained most function except a little deficiency in speech, and quite a bit of memory loss. At one time I had a very, very good memory that went back to average, I would say, from what I'm able to observe. Who's judging, right? I think, I was never told that I was going to die with that stroke. But what it did was it prepared the ground for, I went to see a friend of mine who's a psychiatrist, and every Wednesday night he happened to be showing Poonja-ji tapes, and he was into this. Poonja-ji was a student of his student, of Ramana Maharshi's student. I didn't meet her for several months, but in the meantime I went through all of the whole thing about self-inquiry. I remember discovering that I was very willing. It just seemed like such a great idea to me, but I really didn't practice it like a formal sadhana or whatever. But most of the ahas they came and they went, the bliss states came and went. All of the experience that people normally claim to be what enlightenment is came and went. So when it came time for cancer to show up, I pretty well was clear that I wasn't the body, even then. So everything, it's just kind of like someone saying your car has a blown head gasket. Well, what can we do to fix that? So it was pretty much a mechanical thing for me. My background is in engineering and science, so my educational background and my work experiences are in those areas. So I have kind of that detached sense of looking at this thing as a mechanism anyway. That doesn't negate the fact that it's really a wonderful machine. But it's not who I am. And this I can only imagine, and I do see it in others when I go to the cancer center in Los Angeles at Cedars-Sinai. I see people suffering greatly. You can see them just stoic, just bracing themselves and gritting their teeth. And in fact, my doctor has brought up the possibility that I could talk with people with bodies that have cancer. They might be ready to hear about self-inquiry. So I'm certainly open to that. We'll see what happens. So I was very, very lucky that before, I can remember the first death sentence, I had a tumor in my stomach that nobody could find. They went up from the downside and couldn't get up high enough to find it, and they came down through the esophagus and couldn't get low enough to find it. And for some reason, the general practitioner I was going to didn't want to give me imaging, like CAT scans or whatever. So without getting too far off into the cancer, which is kind of, they couldn't find it. And then when they finally did find it, it was stage 4 and it was so far advanced, and this was the first time I presented with it, it was so far advanced that it took the lab quite a while to figure out what it was, because the cancer, the growth gets more and more chaotic the longer it has to work its magic. And I can remember him walking into my room with the white coat and the tie and the stethoscope. He looked really official. It was the first time I'd actually met the surgeon. I was knocked out by before I met him the first time. And he said, "Well, Mr. Nickel, we believe that this is a certain type. We don't have the labs back yet, but I've seen a lot of these cases." And he said, I just hate to tell you, but if it's what we think it is, why, there's just not much we can do for you.